As the storm passed over Bremer Bay, it brought no answers, just questions. Dave Riggs stood on the edge of the harbor, salt spray beating on his face as he gazed out into the gray, rolling sea. Every blast of wind seemed to carry the voices of those who had attempted, and failed, and solved the enigma of Shark Alpha. Every crashing wave was a mournful echo, and taunt hurled by the sea itself. He looked out into the waters covering the kill zone, that deep cut in the continental shelf, and questioned, what sort of power could wipe out a legend without leaving a trace? That was the question that nagged at him, as it had nagged at every scientist who had examined the confounding data. And as Dave geared up for another dive, he knew that the mission was no longer about science, it was about facing the unknown, and realizing that the deepest secrets of the ocean may be its deadliest as well. Under the surface, the kill zone swarmed with life. Nutrient-charged currents welled up from deep inside the Earth's crust, nourishing clouds of krill that floated like bottomless galaxies. Fish swarmed in shimmering schools. Squid lurked in the darkness, their inky arms trailing across the chill emptiness. Predators stalked every tier. Packs of killer whales glided with unearthly synchrony, clicking and whistling to coordinate their attacks on seals, dolphins, and sometimes, great white sharks. Deeper yet, whaler sharks patrolled, tempered by millions of years of adaptation, refined to outlast the worst regions of the ocean. This was not a destination for the inexperienced. Dave's crew sensed it with each dive, the suffocating pressure, the fleeing light, the weightless presence of something ancient and hidden. They started their inquiry with an open-ended question: what in this chain of command could dominate a predator as formidable as a great white? Whaler sharks, though aggressive, were smaller and only took up with larger sharks on rare occasions when hunger or pandemonium drove them. The crew documented wounds on sharks that died in the kill zone, and most were inflicted by competitors, not some mysterious giant. Nevertheless, the large number of whalers within the kill zone suggested violence. In the sea, wherever food is found, predators are close behind, and supremacy is short-lived. But the killer whales, well, they were a different story. Orcas are top predators, master strategists of the ocean. They hunt in cooperative gangs, with each member taking a turn, herding prey, making ambushes, even turning sharks over on their backs to immobilize them. These are not myths, they're firmly documented facts. Marine biologists have witnessed them stalk, kill, and eat sharks, sometimes eating only the nutrient-rich liver and leaving the rest behind. With speed, strength, and accuracy, orcas looked like ideal suspects. But the statistics didn't pan out. Orcas don't regularly dive deeper than a few hundred feet and prefer to hunt closer to shore. And their bodily internal temperature is notably higher than the 76 degrees Fahrenheit registered by Alpha's tracking device. The hypothesis, while intriguing, couldn't account for all the facts. A look then turned to one of the sea's most elusive hunters, the giant squid. Living in the twilight zone, several hundreds or even thousands of feet under the ocean, these are creatures of myth. Their arms, with suction cups covered in hooks, can grab prey with bone-crushing might. For centuries, sailors told tales of krakens hauling ships down into the depths. While overstated, the reality isn't far behind. Giant squid are longer than a school bus and prowl the Earth's darkest oceans. It made sense that one of them must have ambushed Alpha, particularly after learning that her tag's last dive was at a depth that is also known to be squid hunting grounds. Supporting evidence began to appear, like a white-tipped shark discovered in 2020 covered in enormous suction marks, the kind only a giant squid could inflict. But the theory had a fatal flaw: giant squid are cold-blooded. Their body temperature mirrors the surrounding water. If Alpha had been eaten by one, the temperature spike to 76 degrees Fahrenheit wouldn't make sense. Instead of narrowing, the mystery widened. Frustration crept in. Divers and scientists had invested months in this inquiry. They pored over each frame of video, each sonar sweep. They met with local fishermen who recounted soft-spoken descriptions of unusual sightings and encounters in the fog. They constructed timelines, performed simulations, and charted the last hours of Alpha's existence to the second. And that's when the most unnerving possibility started to emerge, not a squid, not an orca, but something entirely more out of the blue. Monsters from ancient times crept back into the discussion. Time and again, the megalodon was brought up, the huge ancient shark that once dominated Earth's oceans. Fossils indicate it could reach more than 60 feet in length, its mouth able to consume a great white shark whole. Teeth that exceeded human hand length suggest an animal of almost unimaginable strength. Sonar contacts, giant shadows, and unexplained bites on other sharks had long kept the rumors of the megalodon surviving alive. Could it still be alive? Could it have made it through in the unexplored canyons of the kill zone, appearing only to prey before once again becoming lost in the depths? The group discussed the theory. It was tempting, but improbable. Such a massive predator would provide more clues, more attacks, more sightings, more corpses. Much as the hypothesis was tempting, science required more than shadowy lore. Other prehistoric giants were brought into the conversation: mosasaurs, extinct marine reptiles, Leviathan, the saber-toothed whale. If the slayer was not an identified creature, then maybe it was a relic from an earlier era. But that would require food sources, a breeding population, and a viable ecosystem. No good evidence of that was present. During the stillness after botched dives, Dave Riggs continually went back over the data. To Alpha's last descent. To the blip in temperature. He ran it through his head all over again, Alpha swimming alone in the dark, feeling something behind her, too late. A grab. A brief struggle. A swift plunge into nothing. The tag, now within something else, recording its quiet, last moments. If it weren't a squid. If it weren't an orca. Then what was it? What still roamed the secret valleys of the deep ocean, beyond sunlight and humanity's understanding? And then, just as the puzzle seemed impossible to solve, a twist came. Nobody was anticipating. In 2014, over a decade since Shark Alpha vanished under such peculiar circumstances, scientists conducting research on migration behaviors in the kill zone stumbled upon a bone-chilling find. Information gathered from the other great white started to reveal the same trend evident in Alpha's last days: abrupt temperature fluctuations, sudden, unnatural plunges, and abrupt transmission cutoffs. These were not isolated incidents, they were recurring patterns. For the first time, researchers started to consider a chilling possibility: what if Alpha had not crashed to an unidentified animal, but another great white shark? One even bigger and more cannibalistic, one that dominated the kill zone with horrifying supremacy. The farther researchers dived, the more uniform the trend. Shark cannibalism wasn't rare, particularly when food grew slim. In the unforgiving waters of the Southern Ocean, survival belonged to the strongest. The implications were mind-boggling. Somewhere in its dark waters, there lurked a super-great white, almost twice Alpha's size, preying on its own. A silent, ghostly monster gliding through cold. The 76-degree body heat peak registered by Alpha's tag. It was identical to the internal temperature of a great white stomach. Not an orca, not a squid. The secret had been concealed in the data all along, awaiting recognition. The killer wasn't a kraken or a megalodon. It was nature's oldest tale: there is always a larger predator lurking in the deep. For most, the truth was relieving and terrifying. The mystery had been solved, but reality proved to be more spooky than legend. The kill zone was still a realm of brutal beauty, where even top predators were vulnerable to becoming prey at any moment. Life and death went on eternally dancing in the depths. For Dave Riggs and his crew, the response left more questions than answers. How many such giants inhabited those great, unmapped valleys? How did one white shark get so huge? And, most frightening of all, how many others were lurking out there, stalking unseen? The sea, it appeared, always has some additional secret to impart. In pursuing Alpha's murderer, the quest had ended, but the foray into the unknown was only just starting. The only thing certain was this: the sea keeps its own secrets, and some mysteries lead only to more mysteries. When monsters are real. When the world heard that a great white shark had been dispatched by a still larger cannibalistic competitor, the internet exploded in awe. The news was both exciting and unsettling for many. The ocean had reminded humankind that, despite a world of satellites and space probes, there are still untamed areas governed by ancient, basic forces. The kill zone was an Atlantis of our time, dreaded and admired. All divers,